Welcome to Fight Stance Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Flex.
I'm JC. We got a lot to talk about today. Right before we were going to record, this whole thing happened with Conor McGregor and his team storming the Barclays Center up in Brooklyn, acting a complete fool. We were just watching the video. What'd you think about that?
I mean, we watched the press conference last night, and Dana White seemed like he wanted Conor to be there. And,
Not no more.
Yeah, that was a bad idea. It seemed like Conor wasn't even in the country. And come to find out, he came in to support his boy Lobov.
I'm just like, I don't understand what has gotten into him. It started with the Bellator jumping into the cage. Now you've got this whole thing where he's actually injured somebody. Michael Chiesa got some cuts on his face. Artem Lobov's been pulled from the fight. Dana's saying he doesn't want to work with him anymore. We know that's going to be complete bullshit. But that's what he's saying right now. And he's got a warrant out for his arrest. And it's just a bad look for him and the UFC. It's just a bad look.
It is. It really is. And I feel like with Conor McGregor, I tweeted about this before. I feel like Conor McGregor lost what makes him an icon. He lost what makes him a legend. People have been doubting him now than ever before. And he doesn't have much to hang his hat on anymore.
So, you guys are going to get to know us both. But Flex knows I was one of the first Conor hype train guys.
Yep.
I was riding hard on Conor. And it took my man over here, a couple fights to hop on the train. Now he's been leading the train, and I've hopped off the train because I can't take this nonsense anymore. It's just when he got bigger than the organization, and it just went to his head, and he's not about the fights anymore. He hasn't fought since my wedding.
I remember.
My wedding night.
Your wedding night.
After my wedding night, we went to watch UFC 205 at a local bar. That's the last time he fought, November 2016.
Yep. I remember that night very well. And, for me, JC's right. For me, I needed a burgeoning moment to say, okay, this is Conor McGregor. This is the guy that people have built him up to be. And that was when he knocked out Aldo in 13 seconds. And from then on, I've been giving him a chance. And then something flipped when he beat Eddie Alvarez back in November of 2015. And now I'm sitting here thinking, I don't know exactly what Conor McGregor's holding on to and if he's going to move forward in the lightweight division.
I just can't be a fan of this type of behavior. If he's fighting, it might be different because then you're a fan of him fighting. But he's not even fighting. So what are we a fan of right now? All you have is the behavior that's right in front of you.
Yeah.
And I just can't back him anymore on that. He's got to get into the octagon. He's got to take on a challenge, whoever it may be. Maybe we get some answers on Saturday night. But as of right now, I'm all the way off the train until he changes my mind.
I hear you. And the train is officially run away. With this whole incident, I mean, throwing bottles in a press conference is one thing. Jumping into the ring to support your boy and then getting into altercation with a ref is another thing. I don't condone any of these actions. Though injuring a fighter, especially a fighter that's supposed to be competing very soon, is completely unacceptable. So I'm on the back car of a runaway train waving at you. You waited till we got to a stop. We got to a stop. You jumped off.
You think he picks up Lobov's check that Lobov is losing now? My man is out of some money.
He might need it. I haven't seen his liquor in the liquor store, so I don't know how good it's doing.
I'm sure Lobov is getting those 20 to show, 20 to win type of checks.
Unfortunately.
I'm sure he's got 40 grand in his pocket Conor can give to him, but it's just a shame, man. It's just, you see it with these big time athletes when they get bigger than the organization that they work for. They just have this downfall that is inevitable. It's sad that it's happening to him.
Yeah, and he tried to take the Mayweather route, creating his own promotion team, and he never really found an angle for it post McGregor Mayweather, and everyone has been doubting him and questioning him about his return, and his fans, his diehard fans, or even his casual fans, are tired of defending him. And same thing with him; they don't have much to hold on to anymore. What is the prospect, and what is the future of Conor McGregor? It's gonna depend upon, and we're gonna learn a lot from UFC 223.
The bigger the rise, the bigger the fall, man. I don't know, but let's get into these fights going on. Saturday night, UFC 223. You got the main event. You got Khabib fighting his replacement, Max Holloway. You got Joanna and Rose in a rematch. You've got the Chiesa Pettis, Iaquinta Felder. Hopefully Chiesa's okay. Looking at those fights, what do you think? Who do you have as fight of the night on that?
Ooh, it's real tough. Felder alone is always an option for fight of the night. I mean, I know that he might not hold the highlight moniker, though the Irish Dragon is pretty goddamn fierce. I mean, he's got highlight videos all over YouTube. He's been in the game for a long time. Currently 15-3. I mean, he's a legit striker, and at any point in time he could be in a war.
Yeah, I think that Iaquinta Felder is going to be fight of the night. Chiesa Pettis is going to be good, man. What do you think about that Rose Joanna rematch?
It's interesting because Rose Namajunas seems to, in my personal opinion, have blocked out all potential for a psychological advantage for Joanna. And Joanna predicated her career on that with, as you call it, the goblin stare, where she gets underneath
goblin
and just
stare.
stares at you like she's going to swallow your soul and tear you to pieces. And she continued to do that throughout her career. She had 5 title defenses. Rose came in and said, "I don't give a fuck about any of that," and knocked her out.
We always talk about Khabib. The first word that comes to mind is terrifying.
Yeah.
We used to use that word for Joanna more than Khabib.
I did.
Terrifying.
I did. And one of the things that I found so interesting is watching a UFC Embedded for their first matchup. People had touched on the fact that Joanna had not chosen a nickname for herself. She just lets people create their own. And one of the best ones I ever heard was Violence. Joanna Violence Jędrzejczyk. Because when you watch her fights, it seems almost, we're MMA fans. We've been loving MMA for over a decade now. And we've dedicated ourselves to it in many different ways, though we never really think, God, this is bad. I want to see this stopped. Like, this is horrendous. I'm not even enjoying this anymore. That kind of emotion is invoked in me sometimes watching Joanna. The way she picks her opponents apart with her Muay Thai.
Yeah, man, she is terrifying. The one problem with Joanna, though, since she lost to Rose, she hasn't accepted that Rose just beat her on that day. That she was the better woman.
It does seem like that.
She keeps talking about the weight cut was the issue.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things, other than the weight cut, she won't even admit that she tapped to strikes.
Yeah.
I can't remember who the ref was. I want to say Big John, but that could be completely wrong. But I remember watching it. Rose is striking her on the ground. Joanna taps on the ground. Rose stops striking. There's a pause, and then the ref steps in. Mm-hmm. Rose saw those taps because that's why she stopped striking. She saw her tap. It's on video, and she says that she didn't tap. And I just start to lose respect for people when they won't own up to their loss. They won't give their opponent the credit that they deserve. It's just, man, give Rose this credit.
Yeah, I hear you. And Rose has had a long road. I mean, she was on a season of Tough. She did very well. She comes from a stable of really amazing fighters from that same season. And Rose seems to have really completed her game. I remember watching Rose back in the Tough days thinking, this girl is going to survive the striking and choke you out. She's going to survive the striking and throw up a flying armbar. That's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen from her back then, was that flying armbar. And I feel like now, I mean, she really changed the game. She knocked out a Muay Thai specialist that has been crazily dominant. I mean, she's been clipped, I guess, by Carolina, and she's had a little bit of, she's had some issues with the pace of the match, where she can't dictate it the entire 5 rounds. Against Carolina, she got clipped, as some people will call it. Though, all in all, when it's said and done, if it does go 5 rounds, she's always been dominant, and Rose changed that.
Rose is just, there was some comments from Joanna that Rose was this mental midget, and it turns out that she's a mental giant.
Yes.
And man, she's one of my favorite fighters right now. I know you think she's boring as a person.
Yeah.
But I like the trend of fighters now that's coming up, that they're just humble. They don't need to talk shit. They just kick ass. Like Rose, like Whitaker, like Ortega. This group of just good fighters. Stipe is a little boring for me, but just these guys that they don't need to talk the shit. They just go out there. They take care of business. They go home with a belt. And I don't know. I just like that group that's coming up. You like your badasses. Wow.
Let me just take a second here, because I'm the exact fucking opposite. I don't like that shit. And I'm going to tell you why. I'll tell you why. I understand your side of things. I understand a lot of people's side of wanting just a humble champ, humble in defeat, humble in victory. Of course we want that. In the lead up, though, in the build up,
okay,
using that exact terminology, I don't feel built up if at the end of the day there's no tension between these guys and girls. I need them to look at each other in the eyes, and I don't want it to feel like WWE.
If you can't get to a man, go ahead and try to talk shit to Robert Whitaker.
I know.
See what he does.
I know. He's the nicest fucking guy in the world.
He's gonna probably ask you how he hurt your feelings and what he could do to fix that.
Damn it.
He's too damn nice.
I just can't process it.
Come on, man.
I can't process it.
Brandon Moreno's on this card. That's my boy. Can you see Brandon Moreno?
You gonna bring up Brandon Moreno?
Can you see Brandon Moreno talking shit before a fight? Come on, man. Come on.
Damn it. You just had to bring up the assassin baby?
These are my guys. These are my guys. So
I hear you. My only thing is that when I'm watching the fight, my heart is racing, and when you come straight out of the gate talking shit, and you make it believable like Conor used to be able to do. When you do that, when you have that angle, the stakes are way higher. And the stakes are obviously higher for the fighter, and for me as well. When I'm watching as a fan, I want those stakes to be high. I want to be sitting there on pins and needles thinking, oh my gosh, if they lose, could you imagine the backlash?
That's what I love. I love seeing those types lose.
Well, that's why this is the Fight Stance podcast, and this is your stance and my stance.
I rarely ever root for a fighter one way or the other.
Okay.
Like, I just like seeing good fights. Colby Covington is the only fighter in the UFC that I will root against, that I will openly root against. But I do have some that I like more than others. So.
Okay. I hear you.
It is what it is. Who you think is gonna win that fight?
The Brandon Moreno Ray Borg?
No. Well, you can give that too, but Rose and Joanna.
Oh, back to Rose and Joanna, man. I'm gonna give it to Joanna. Joanna's being real quiet. She seems laser focused in. I think she is conscious of all that we know to be true as far as tapping the strikes and her being, overlooking Rose as a striker, overlooking Rose completely, in my opinion. I honestly think that she's going to go in there with everything she has, and if she loses, it'll be because Rose is the better grappler. It won't be because Joanna is a striker that lost her way. I give the nod to Joanna in this rematch. My
heart says Rose. My head is saying Joanna.
Okay.
If the weight cut did affect her, she's now working with George Lockhart. By all accounts, she's having a good weight cut. And she was regarded as the best female fighter in the UFC, maybe other than Cyborg. And this could set up a trilogy. So I'll say Joanna wins in a decision. 5-round decision.
Okay. And just to touch on Joanna before we move on, Joanna made a comment in the press conference about how she was going to the media asked her if she was going to move up in weight class. They asked her what her thoughts were on that. And she said, well, she was going to continue for a few more fights at her weight class, continue to defend her belt, and then move. Now she's going to remain at her weight class for much longer than she had anticipated because she has to go back and prove herself. With that statement, I feel strongly that she is dedicated. She knows what she has to do. She just hasn't voiced it yet because in her mind, with her dedication and what she holds herself to be so proud of, is her wins and her title defenses.
Hypothetical. Joanna moves up in weight. She fights Valentina Shevchenko. What do you got?
Come on, man.
Valentina's a beat. And Valentina moved down, so she's going to be bigger than her. Man, I'm taking Valentina.
I am as well. I'm not going to lie to you. I would take Valentina, and I think that's part of the reason why Joanna's not moving up. You know, when you gain a certain amount of success, the same thing with Mighty Mouse. You gain a certain amount of success, especially at these lighter weights. Think about these smaller weights. People want you to move up. They want you to take the next challenge. Continue to be dominant at your own division. This is her division. No disrespect to Rose. This was Joanna's division, and she wants to get back to that mindset. That mindset is what's going to allow her to smash any other competition that's still left standing. And we'll see if she moves up. I don't think that's going to be anytime soon at all.
I'm just looking at this screen. For those of you listening, we have up on the screen, we have the matchup. Shows, height, weight, reach, leg reach. Myself and Flex were just talking yesterday about how long Rose's legs are.
Yes.
She's got a 39-inch leg reach compared to 35 for Joanna, yet she's an inch shorter.
Yeah.
She is a spider.
Yeah, in my expert opinion, as I put it yesterday, we just went over a few of the more recent fights between both female combatants rather. As I put it, Rose Namajunas is about 60% legs.
60% minimum.
Yeah, at least her legs are very long, and she is definitely a threat.
All right, let's talk about this main event.
Yeah, let's get straight to the main event.
Nurmagomedov, Max Holloway, the replacement for Tony Ferguson, Mr. I wear my sunglasses at night. What do you think about this fight?
What we know to be 1,000% true for every single fight that Khabib has ever had, that we've ever seen, that we've ever known to happen, is when it goes to the ground, shit gets scary.
Let's just skip to this. 90% of the people out there have Khabib winning. Not many people are giving Max a chance. He's moving up in weight. He's coming off the injury. 6 days notice. He hasn't been training because he's been hurt. He's been chilling at home. He was not preparing for the monster that's Khabib. So what does Max have to do to win?
I think he needs to outstrike him early, and he 100% can do that. I think that all of this pressure, all the reasons why we're doubting Max, is why he has a chance. Because mentally he's going in with that young, you told me I couldn't do it, watch me do it mentality. That's terrifying.
I think Max has to just get in and get out, get in and out. 1, 2, get the fuck out the way.
Yeah.
1, 2, get the fuck out the way.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way I see. If Khabib gets some bear paws on him, they say Max hasn't been taken down in 4 years, but he hasn't faced Khabib. So
exactly,
it's just man, what do you do? Now, Max is the faster guy.
He is.
He has
Definitely
the better striking. Maybe not the more powerful. I don't know about that, but he's got quicker striking, more accurate. He can switch stances. You know, he's relentless. He doesn't get tired. Hopefully, you know, having this time off and not being in training camp doesn't affect his stamina. But yeah, he's just got to get in there. He's got to tag him and get out. Tag him and get out. And see if he can do that for 5 rounds. Because I don't see him finishing Khabib. I don't think he has the power.
no.
If he were to knock Khabib down, I don't know if he would go down to the ground with him to get the finish. He'd probably just let him stand back
Probably
up.
a bad idea to do that.
I mean, that's the only way. If Max is gonna win, it's gonna be on the card somehow, and he's just gotta outstrike him.
I agree. I feel like this being a 5-round fight could be an issue for Max, though I'll be honest with you. Other than that, if we're talking the first 2-3 rounds, I think Max is going to pepper him. And we're going to see a psychological effect on Khabib, or we won't.
I can't wait. I can't wait for this.
I'm honestly, at this point right now, more excited about the potential for this fight. Not necessarily this exact fight, because we wanted the exact fight of Ferguson Nurmagomedov. I mean, this is the 4th time it was canceled. It'll never be a 5th, allegedly, Dana White. Though, we needed that. We all wanted and clamored and needed that. Though, the potential for Max Holloway beating Khabib and everything that happens after that, I'm more excited about that.
Man, just think of how the world is gonna blow up if Max wins. But you know, we got questions. What does that mean for Brian Ortega? Would Max get to defend both belts?
I hope so.
Does Brian Ortega still get a title shot? Would Max fight Conor? Is Conor ever gonna fight in the UFC again? Especially after today. You know what happens? What about Max versus Tony? Max versus Tony would be fun.
That would be very fun.
That'd be fun.
That would be a lot of fun.
You know? That's if Max wins. If Khabib wins, Conor's going to keep running.
Yeah.
Conor's going to keep running, man.
I used to defend that and laugh about it at the same time because I had a lot of faith in Conor, though I did not have any faith in him against Khabib. And guess who knows that more than anybody? Kavanaugh. The whole camp. They all know about Khabib, and they all know the struggles that Conor has historically had with the ground.
I want to see Khabib versus Lobov is what I want to see.
I don't.
Khabib versus
don't want to see that.
Lobov.
Because Lobov is so low level compared to Khabib.
See it just for...
You want to see it where? At Ryzen? Where do you want to see it? You want to see it in the parking lot?
It could be in my backyard. I don't care.
It could be in where we're at right now.
In the grass outside. I don't care. I want to see it.
That's where you will see it. You won't see it on a professional platform, unfortunately.
My God.
Not 25-0 Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Though I want to see it.
Yeah, I hear you.
I want to see Khabib versus CM Punk.
How dare you? How dare you?
Making dream matchups
This is our first podcast, ladies and gentlemen, and he just said CM Punk. I'm offended. I'm legitimately offended.
I just need to see these matchups, man. But yeah, I think this new matchup with Max replacing Tony is just like, it has so many more outcomes that could come from it than the original matchup. I think I'm more excited for this fight.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. It's a shame, though, what we don't know is way more exciting, and the potential after this is more exciting. Only thing we do know, allegedly, is that we won't see Ferguson Khabib. So
I'm over it.
Me too.
I'm over it.
I've been over it.
The only way they can do that is they would have to have them as the co-main on a pay-per-view with a main event that can survive on its own should it get scrapped.
Exactly.
Which
like
means
a return of John Jones or a return of Brock Lesnar, that kind of fight.
Getting into Brock Lesnar.
Oh, man. Yeah, true.
Like you said, like Jones versus Brock Lesnar.
That was slated at
that
one
could
time.
co-main Jones versus Brock Lesnar. Now, Dana White just said yesterday that Brock Lesnar's coming back. He said he doesn't know when.
Mm-hmm.
But this weekend is his last weekend with the WWE. His contract is up. So he said he's coming back. I mean, I know you share some personal feelings about Brock Lesnar in the UFC. If you want to go ahead and share them.
Okay, well, if you guys follow me on Twitter, you know that I'm not a fan of WWE MMA cross promotion at all. Though I will give Brock Lesnar credit being a legitimate wrestler, not a pro wrestler. I give him his credit and his credentials as a collegiate wrestler, and he performed well in the UFC. He performed well. Let's just say that.
Brock had a good college career as a wrestler. I remember before his last fight in the UFC against Mark Hunt, he posted a picture on Instagram that showed him getting his blue belt in jiu-jitsu. So he does practice, he does train the martial arts.
No doubt.
He's not a complete joke coming over the way that CM Punk was. That's completely different. Brock is a physical freak.
Yes. Yes.
Physical freak. The one thing that always hurt him is he hated getting hit.
Yeah, Cain Velasquez kind of made that very apparent.
As big as he is afraid of a punch. So, I'm wondering. Dana's saying that he doesn't know when he's coming back. I'm thinking that it might, go around the same timeline as when John Jones comes back. I don't know if
Definitely.
John Jones wants to fight Brock Lesnar in that kind of super fight without having a belt. I don't know what John Jones. I don't know where his priorities lie. He called out Brock Lesnar, but he also had a belt on his shoulder. So, does he want to? I don't know if he wants to fight DC again, or if he'd want to fight Stipe. He could fight Stipe as well, but I think that Jones Brock Lesnar. What, man? Top 3 selling pay-per-view of all time.
Easily.
Jones Lesnar.
Easily.
Man. Yeah, so, man, Lesnar's on his way back.
It's crazy. It really is crazy. I mean, looking at his record, he was in K1.
And honestly, he could have fell off the face of the planet the last 2 years. I wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
Ever since UFC 200, I don't know what happened to Brock Lesnar. He's been in WWE. I don't watch pro wrestling. It is what it is. But people know who he is. I was watching, I believe, UFC Tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And for everybody out there, I have a son that's almost 8 years old. He's big into watching WWE wrestling. And on UFC Tonight, they brought up Brock Lesnar. And he looked at the TV and said, Brock Lesnar's fighting in the UFC? He knew who Brock Lesnar was. He doesn't know who Conor McGregor is.
Well, that tells you.
But he knows who Brock Lesnar is.
It tells you something.
So, I mean, the guy's famous. It is what it is.
WWE has a huge following. I mean, they sell out massive stadiums. Massive.
Yep.
Just a little bit about me. I did private security, and now I'm into aviation. Though before, when I was in private security, I did all kinds of contracts, and I had a contract for a concert hall, and they had a WWE event there, and it was insane. They stomped the entire time. Everyone was losing their mind. I had grown men with plastic belts on each shoulder, and that shit freaked me out, and I never wanted to work that event again. Though the appeal is there. The appeal is real. This isn't a dying fad. This is something that has remained relevant for a long time, and I touched on that on my Twitter.
Yeah, I'm actually going to a WWE event next month to take my son, so
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I'm not personally looking forward to it, but he'll have a good time. It's for him.
Yeah.
And hopefully hopefully we're in and out of there.
If Brock's there, try to get an interview. See if we can get a media card.
Well, he'll be off the roster by then.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Man.
So let's make our official picks. We didn't make official picks for Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Max Blessed Holloway. The Eagle versus the Blessed One. Who you got?
All right, so Max is one of my favorite fighters in the UFC. He's definitely top 5. He could be number 1. After he beat Aldo the first time, I was like, man, this is This is my guy right here. That being said, I think he's going to get ragdolled. And you know what? I think he...
It's hard. Don't get me wrong. It's tough.
I think that it ends early second round. Via some type of ground and pound, Khabib will win early second round.
I'm quite similar to that. I'm going to say mid to the end of third round. I think it's going to take Khabib longer to keep Holloway down than we may think. But once he can keep him down, you know how Khabib finds his way to the crucifix very quickly. If Khabib can do that, it will end before we see a third round. I think people are underestimating the youth and the tenacity of Max Blessed Holloway.
Max has to keep it in the middle of the ring.
Yes.
I'm sorry, not the ring. The middle of the octagon. If he can keep it in the middle, he might be able to stop some takedowns. It's when Khabib gets these guys up against the cage.
Exactly. That's what we talked about. It's not that Khabib has like the highest takedown percentage in the UFC. It's once he gets you there.
All right, imagine this ending. Picture Edson Barbosa against Beneil Dariush. When Dariush shot in for that takedown and Edson got him with the knee.
No.
That is something
That's how Max could
that
win.
I would lose my mind.
Yeah, we would
Oh
we
my
would be
God.
flipping desks, flipping chairs.
I would lose my mind. Oh my God, man.
That's a possibility.
pulls it off, man.
Though I'm looking here, let's just break this down for a second. So like I said, it's not like Khabib has the greatest takedown attack of all time. His takedown accuracy is less than half, 45%.
Yeah.
Though his takedown average is 5.85.
Well, he got
21. He has 6 takedowns per fight average.
21 came against one opponent.
Yeah.
So
I
don't know how
you want to talk about the
I don't
tenacity
know
of
how
a
the guy got up
grappler?
20 times. But
Yeah, we don't know about that.
man, I'm pulling for Max. I was big on this Khabib train after that Barbosa fight. I was like, man, I need him to be the lightweight champion. I wanted him to beat Tony.
Yeah.
Now I'm just like, damn. I want Max to win. I can't lie. I want Max to win. But if Khabib wins, that's great.
And it's
that's
Khabib
great.
winning. That's what's so exciting. Khabib winning sets up a lot of potential amazing matches, and as does Holloway. It does leave things a little confusing at the featherweight division with amazing fighters like Brian Ortega, who are literally skyrocketing into stardom right now. Yeah. Skyrocketing.
It's gonna be a great card. Really is. It's stacked from top to bottom. Unfortunately, it lost a low ball.
Yeah, we don't.
But anyway,
We're good on that.
Yeah. So there was a fight announcement made last night. It's a rematch that's been announced for UFC 227 in August in Los Angeles. It's a much debated fight that we had the first time that they fought. Mm-hmm. TJ Dillashaw will be defending his belt against Cody Garbrandt. What do you think about Cody getting a rematch right now?
Who else is going to get it? That's the question that everybody keeps asking. Who else is going to get it? Cruz is injured. We already have everybody else set up to fight. Everybody else already has a fight. I mean, I could go here and look at the, division and go all the way to the number 15 guy. Though at the end of the day, in the top 5, in the top 10, everybody's scheduled. And Cruz, the former champ, is injured. Who else gets a shot? Who else deserves a shot?
Yeah, man. I mean, Cruz is supposed to fight Jimmy Rivera. He got canceled because of an injury. Jimmy Rivera is now fighting Marlon Moraes in June. You can't give it to one of those guys. They've got to beat a top-tier guy. There's no one else there. It's got to be Cody. And I'm a Cody guy. You're a TJ guy. Last fight, I picked TJ to win all the way up until the day before the fight. And then I picked Cody. So this time, I'm picking Cody all the way up into the fight. And then the day before, I'm going to switch it up.
Hacks.
And I'm going to go with TJ. I don't know, man. I like Cody. I don't know what it is. TJ just reminds me of somebody that's, to be honest, they're both immature. I was going to call TJ immature, but they're both immature. But Cody's still a kid, so I'm giving him more credit. TJ's like 32 years old.
Okay.
So, I don't know, man. The first fight, Cody got knocked out. TJ got knocked down in the first round. Had it extended, maybe the outcome would have been different.
We doing what ifs now? That's what we doing? We doing what ifs?
Well, it could have happened.
It's true. Another
30 seconds.
But look, here's why I've always had TJ winning a fight against Cody. Because TJ is a better striker. And Cody is not taking the fight to the ground. He's way more dynamic. He's not predictable at all. And unless Cody is able to pull off what he did against Dominic Cruz, he's not going to have a successful night. I mean, the kid, I doubted his rise. I doubted that he should be fighting Cruz in the first place when he got that shot. You know why I doubted it? Because I was afraid that he was going to take Cruz's fucking belt. And I was afraid for a reason. And it was proven that night. I knew it. I could feel it. I am a huge Dominic Cruz fan, and I was terrified when they announced that fight. When he was on his way up, talking shit to Cruz, I was terrified.
How many knockdowns did he have that fight? 3?
3, yeah. I believe he had 3.
3, at least 3.
Because I remember him dancing on each one. I remember the
he,
video and the photo and he was doing all kinds of shit.
Oh God!
He found his rhythm and stuck to it and
found his rhythm in more than one way.
Yeah. I mean, he said he'd been training to beat Cruz since he was like 8. So he kind of proved it.
TJ's definitely he has more diverse striking.
Yes.
You know, Cody's kicks are nothing to be afraid of.
Nope.
He's a straight boxer. The advantage that Cody has is his speed. I think his hands to me are top 3 in the UFC with Dodson and
speed wise
and Mighty Mouse. But he's got the power.
You gotta remember Michael Johnson too.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it sucks to even bring that. Not sucks, but it's interesting to bring that up now, considering Michael Johnson's loss and how dare you? How dare you?
But I mean, he's got such fast hands and he's got power in his hands.
I'll give him top 5.
Pound for pound, he's
hand speed is incredible. When I was 100% off that train and not giving him a shot in the dark, I still brought up his hand speed.
I wonder what his mindset.
Gave him credit.
What kind of mindset he would have going into this fight? I think leading up to that Cruz fight, he had getting that belt on his mind. Cruz thought he was getting into Cody's head. Everybody thought Cruz was getting into Cody's head.
Yeah.
And when that fight started, Cody was locked in.
Yeah.
But
100%.
I think that maybe he started feeling himself a little bit. Got ahead of himself. And TJ just took care of business. And I'm wondering what his mindset is going to be going into this rematch. I wonder if he has that Cruz mindset again. So
we'll see. I mean, and then also, what's the extent of that injury? How bad is that injury?
The injury was in his hand?
Yes.
I remember him saying he couldn't hit a bag. He should be good by now. If he was willing to take TJ on short notice a couple weeks ago, he should be good by August. But
let's hope so.
Yeah, man. So moving on a little bit, we kind of want to get into a little bit of a debate. We want to start hashtag What's Your Stance?
Yes.
This is Fight Stance Podcast. We want to start the hashtag What's Your Stance? The UFC social media pages were having NCAA basketball type brackets where you would vote for a winner. 2 of the debates that they had were the greatest fight of all time and the greatest champion of all time, which I believe is still going. I think it just got out of what we would, quote unquote, the first round. This greatest fight of all time. I don't know if any of you listeners voted in this, but whoever voted for Conor vs. Nate 2 as the greatest UFC fight of all time, you've all lost your minds. And I'm yelling at the microphone right now, but you've all lost your minds. What do you think about that, I guess? And who would you have as your greatest fight of all time? Just off the top of your head.
First of all, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in MMA fans, people that call themselves MMA fans. I don't know what they were on when they clicked McGregor Diaz 2 as the motherfucking
As the
number
best
one.
fight of all
I'm
time.
so disappointed.
Great fight. It was a
Amazing
great
fight.
Amazing fight.
Amazing fight, considering the stakes, considering all that went into the different weight classes, and if Conor was gonna make that weight at 170, he's eating steak. He's trying so hard. He's really not that big. He should never be fighting.
He didn't even weigh
that
in.
weight class. He weighed in at 169.2, I believe, and that was
man.
like just ate a steak.
Both fights he was under 170.
Yeah, he couldn't even make the weight.
He's got that little boy chest. He got a little boy chest on him.
Got broad ass shoulders, little ass boy chest.
A little boy
According
chest.
to JC, I did not say that. No, honestly, man, I am really disappointed, and it sucks because we're part of a new era. Who would have thought? We're in our, let's call it mid to late 20s, even though we're damn near 30. We're in that mid to late 20s bracket where we remember Stephan Bonner and Forrest Griffin.
The beginnings.
Yes.
The beginnings.
We remember.
That was the first fight that was on cable.
We remember
Correct.
those wars. I
No
believe
pay-per-view.
so. I believe so. We remember those wars. And how, let's talk about fights that maybe those that are in their teens or their early 20s remember. How is Doo Ho Choi, Cub Swanson not in the top 3? And how is that? If that won, I wouldn't knock it. If Gaethje Alvarez won, I wouldn't knock it.
Gaethje Alvarez was up there.
Or McDonald Lawler. That's the number one for me.
McDonald
personally.
Lawler?
Yes. That's
Yeah.
my number one.
It was up there. I was gonna say Bonner Griffin just because of what it meant for the UFC,
Yes.
along with it being the greatest, one of the greatest fights of all time. Both, Lawler Condit.
That's an amazing fight as well.
Lawler Condit is up there. Man, I'm trying to name some others. There's just so many. I think I gotta go with. God, it's tough.
Well, you know what? Let's make it easy because I happen to just be clicking around on the UFC website and they have a Hall of Fame section. And I'm not going to go through everybody, though guess who is 100% in here? Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonner. And, that just says something. They really changed. They made it possible. They were like, yeah, UFC and MMA in general is very grotesque and it's going to get real bloody. This is the reality of the sport. You guys are going to love it or hate it. And people chose to love it enough so that it was able to be streamed online.
I just thought of who came in
or
second
rather
place.
on television.
Thought of who came in second place was John Jones against Gustafsson. Was number 2.
Okay.
That Silva Chael Sonnen was amazing. You know what's I don't even know if it's the best fight of all time, but my favorite is Diego Sanchez, Gilbert Melendez.
It's an amazing fight.
Yeah, that fight.
That's definitely in the top 10 for
That
sure.
was really one of those fights where I watched and I was like, man, I kind of like this MMA stuff. That kind of got me into it. So I know that's getting off topic. Maybe not as far as going the best fight of all time. It's probably my favorite of all time, though. I think we're gonna defer. We're gonna have some opposite opinions on the other topic of greatest champion of all time.
Oh, fuck. This is gonna be tough. This is gonna be really tough. You can go first.
All right, so let's name names. Demetrius Johnson, John Jones, Anderson Silva, GSP,
Jose Aldo,
10 years.
Michael Bisping. I can't believe you let all of those letters come out of my mouth. You didn't interrupt me. You just gonna let me say Michael Bisping?
Jermaine Durandamy. We're gonna go there.
Jermaine Durandamy.
Jermaine
Durandamy. Yes, greatest.
Whoa.
The GOAT, as they call her.
You know, even somebody like Ronda Rousey could have an argument for what she
That's an
did.
argument for all these people, though. They don't have a podcast, so fuck them.
We gotta make picks.
No, I mean like the people that would argue those people don't deserve a podcast because they don't know shit about MMA.
I've got my pick.
I got my pick.
I've got mine. What's your stance? No, I'm just kidding. My pick. Anderson Silva.
Anderson Silva. You gonna defend that, or you want me to drop mine and then we can go in?
Anderson Silva is the greatest champion of all time. This is why. When Anderson Silva was defending his belts, one, look at who he beat. Vitor Belfort. Okay? Chael Sonnen, twice. Okay? Beat Stephan Bonner, Forrest Griffin, Damian Maia. I'm going through the list right now. It's on my phone. I'm going through the list. Dan Henderson, Rich Franklin, Nate Marquardt, Rich Franklin again. The list goes on. And out of all of these defenses, only 2 of them were by decision.
That's a very good point.
Look at the knockout of Vitor Belfort with the front kick to the face.
Yeah, that's to me one of the greatest highlights of all time.
Yes. From a champion.
By far.
One of the most iconic moments from a champion in the history of the UFC. When he fought Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen was going to win that fight. And he pulled a triangle choke out of his ass in the 5th round and won that fight. When he fought Damian Maia, he picked him apart to the point that the fight got booed because it was so boring. It was so much better than Damian Maia that it was a joke. Just beat icons and just he was so dominant for so long. And he was dominant in his 30s. When he lost to Weidman, how old was he? 38? I mean, he was a dominant champion in his 30s. What if we had seen Anderson Silva in his 20s? What if we had seen... I can't say how long his championship streak would have lasted. Had he been in his 20s when he got into the UFC, his early 20s, had the UFC been around, but you might have seen a 15-year championship reign from the guy that I think is the greatest champion of all time. Ain't no sunshine. So who do you got?
That was good. You know, you touched on a lot of what we know for a fact makes him in the top 3 argument. No matter if you just started watching MMA yesterday or you've been watching it since UFC 1, or let's say you go way back Joe Rogan style and you've been watching MMA since the first punch was thrown and you know everything about the history. You're a fucking encyclopedia. Mm-hmm. You can argue always Anderson Silva, especially for UFC. You could say he's one of the greatest MMA champions of all time. I'm going to go ahead and say John Bones
Get the fuck
Jones.
out of here. No,
You knew I was going to say John Bones Jones. I don't even know why you even questioned it. John Bones Jones, undefeated, disqualification, long ass time ago. Shit don't count. Matt Hamill was getting smizzashed in that fight. He was getting destroyed. John Jones landed 12-6 elbow. Y'all know the history. This is only lost. I mean, and you talk about fights that Anderson Silva pulled out of his ass. Well, we know that John Jones pulled Vitor out of his ass. Yeah. He had all of his ligaments being shredded by Vitor and just yanked his arm out and finished that fight. I mean, look at who he's beaten. Let's just start from the people that anybody gives a fuck about. Let's start with Brandon Vera, Ryan Bader, Shogun, Rampage, Machida, Evans, Belfort, Sonnen, Gustafsson, Teixeira, Cormier, OSP, and Cormier again.
This is what I mean when I say had Anderson Silva started in his 20s. Can you pull up how old Anderson Silva was in his first fight? Just go to his Wikipedia page or whatever you got to do. Because John Jones is 30 years old right now.
Yes.
He accomplished all that by 30 years old. I want to know how old Anderson Silva was when he got into the UFC. I want to say he was 30 or close to it.
Might be right. Let's see here.
Go down. I know he was definitely older. He was at least in his late 20s. Just go to mixed martial arts record. Up. Click on the link. Number 8. And go down to his first UFC fight, which would be UFC Fight Night 5 against Chris Laban. Was 2006. So that's 12 years ago. So he was 30.
Yeah.
He was 30. So you got one guy who accomplished, and John Jones, you got a guy who accomplished all that by the time he was 30 years old. The other entered the UFC at 30 as an older man and accomplished all that he did. So, I don't know how old John Jones was when he got in the UFC. He was definitely young. Let's just say 23, 24, however old he was. 20?
John Jones' first UFC fight was UFC 87 in 2008. It's 10 years ago, he was 20.
He was 20. So, what if Anderson Silva had been in the UFC since he was 20 years old? If he had an additional 10 years on his UFC life, the things that he could have did.
You can say that for another person that some people are regarding right now as, at least in my opinion, he's potential. Some people say he could be number one. Daniel Cormier.
Yeah, what if Daniel Cormier had come in?
If he comes in and beats Stipe, people would argue he's the best of all time. Though they would always have the counterpoint of John Jones. What if Daniel Cormier came into the game early? Daniel Cormier came into the game in his 30s.
He would have been scary, man. He would have been scary.
Yeah, because he could take a fucking punch.
He was like 32, 33.
Yeah.
When he started.
Yes.
I mean, I wonder what a 30-year-old Daniel Cormier versus a 30-year-old John Jones would have been like. It might have been a different story.
Might have been a way different story.
Too bad we'll never know, but he's a definite monster.
But we can't go into what ifs is my angle. We can't go into what ifs and maybes. And
John Jones, the rest of his career is a what if. So
I'll give you that. When I say he's the greatest of all time, everything he does as soon as the referee says fight. Everything he does from that point on is golden. Golden. And that's what we're talking about. I don't give a fuck. I mean, I care on a empathy level what he's done outside that has harmed other people. What he does to harm himself, couldn't give a fuck about because he still performs. He's high level, and he's been high level since his early 20s. Of course he's dominant. Of course he's making mistakes.
I'm breaking down the words in the question. The greatest champion of all time.
Okay.
John Jones, greatest fighter, greatest talent. Anderson Silva is the greatest champion.
If you're going that angle, then no one in the world can argue Demetrius Johnson. If it's champion, role model champion, if we're talking champion like your son looking up to champion, that's Demetrius Johnson.
Look at the level of talent, though. That's the thing. I almost got the TJ fight. It didn't happen, but it is what it is. But I don't know. I think we're about to wrap this up. We've got a couple great fight nights coming up. UFC Atlantic City is coming up. Frankie Edgar's going to be on that card. Edson Barbosa versus Kevin Lee is headlining. Frankie's fighting Cub Swanson. UFC Glendale is in a week. A couple of great fights on that. Condit will be fighting Cowboy Oliveira. Too bad Matt Brown had to back out of that fight. And then it's headlined by what I think could be the fight of the year.
Absolutely.
Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje. What do you think about that fight?
That fight is going to be bloody. I mean, every fight that Justin Gaethje is in, there's a reason why he named himself the highlight. Every fight he's in is a highlight. I doubted this kid coming in. I didn't think he deserved the attention he was getting in the UFC. I just wanted him to prove himself. He did that. He did that more so in his loss against Alvarez than he did in any of his wins. I mean, yes, the Michael Johnson fight was absolutely insane. That was blowing my mind by the second. Every single punch that was thrown, every single knockdown, everything was a highlight. That fight was spectacular. Though I feel like he proved himself and he made a name for himself more in his loss to Eddie Alvarez than anything. And I'm more excited to see him because of it.
You know, like Dustin Poirier may be my most underappreciated fighter in the UFC right now.
Is it his look? Me, every time I look at him, I don't picture him as a fighter, and then he gets in there and I'm like, oh shit, he's a fighter, and he blows my mind. I know that's a simple concept, though I look at him and I think I just don't get that tenacity from him. I don't get that like grit from him. And then when I see him in the mastery of his striking, I'm reminded and surprised and humbled each time. Like, oh, this motherfucker is legit.
Yeah, man, he's got a great boxing stand-up, great jiu-jitsu. Comes from that thug jitsu, Eve Edwards background, and American Top Team talent. I just think he's a future. Maybe I want to say a future title holder, but this division is so out of whack. But future contender, Dustin Poirier.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt at all. That is going to be an incredible fight. That card is going to be incredible. I would love to make the Atlantic City card. Not sure if my schedule permits that, though. If I do, there will be updates on my Twitter for sure.
I'll be attending a local regional fight during the UFC Glendale fight night. Shogun fights in Baltimore. I'll be going to that. We want to try to get to some more events, get some live takes, some live tweets in future events. And do you want to give your Twitter account so people can follow you?
Yeah, it's Fight Stance Flex. That's Fight Stance Flex, FLEX.
My Twitter is Fight Stance JC. You can also follow Fight Stance Pod, POD, on Twitter, as well on Instagram, Fight Stance Podcast. Give us a follow. We'll follow back. If you are a fellow MMA podcast, let us know what you think of the show. Let us know what we can improve on, what you liked, what you'd like to see more of. We'll give you guys a listen. We just want to support other podcasts and just build this MMA community of fight fans.
Absolutely, man. We're MMA enthusiasts. You know, we follow the sport of MMA closer than any other sport. This is a result of sending years of audio messages back and forth with each other, arguing and debating MMA, and we're turning it into a podcast. Should have done this shit a long time ago, though. I'm very happy with our result here, and we're gonna go ahead and close out, man.
Hashtag what's your stance? Get that trending.
Get that shit trending right now.